Welcome to the summer series again, and today we're doing something so much fun with my friend Leslie, who I've told you is a master gardener, floral designer, landscape designer. She's all things. So today she's going to do something that I've never done or seen. What are you going to do?
So I'm going to show you guys how to make the traditional Ikebana style of flower arranging. So this is a minimalistic style that airs from Japan.
Okay, love it.
So we have
back in the what century did you say?
6th century it was brought to Japan.
Okay.
And then it evolved into a leisure activity from there.
I love it. Ikebana. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see it. What are we doing? What do you need, first of all?
What you need is you need some flowers, which we have.
Okay.
Today we're going to use peonies because it is a symbol for prosperity. And it's just a beautiful way to start the season out.
Yes.
So the next thing we're going to use are these really fun, beautiful sticks. These are from my Harry Lauder walking stick at my house. And they just have such amazing appeal.
They look like a curly willow. Is that kind of the same?
It's similar. This one just has a little more contortions.
And what's it called, just so that people?
So this is called a Harry Lauder's walking stick.
Okay. And where can people find a Harry Lauder's walking stick?
So you can find it at most really cool garden centers.
Okay.
The average garden center is not going to carry it.
Okay.
But it's a fantastic plant. It comes with green foliage or purplish red foliage. And it's fabulous because it blooms in February.
Wow.
So when stuff isn't really blooming or happening in your garden, you can have this covered in these drapey, beautiful flowers.
Love it. Okay.
So,
so we've got those.
This is all about, this is going to be our dish that we're going to use.
So do they need something shallow, I guess is my point.
You need something shallow.
Okay.
Absolutely. So typically you want it to be around 12 inches. It can be a little larger, but not too much. There is a different style where you can do it in a bowl, but we're going to do the basic one. That way everybody at home can do it as well. Yeah, absolutely. So you're going to also need a frog, which is this.
Yes. Tell people what a frog is because
so
I didn't know what a frog is for a very long time. So go ahead.
So a frog is this little disc and it has lots of pins on it. Where you stick flowers on and they stay in place. So it's really
very heavy.
It's very heavy.
Okay.
So it's also shallow. So that way when we put it in here and fill it with water,
it doesn't move.
It doesn't move and the ends of the stems will actually be submerged.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So you can do it with a frog. Some people do a certain style of Ikebana with something called a turtle.
Okay.
Which is like this, but instead of prongs, it has holes.
I've never seen one of those. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to go with a frog today. Okay. You'll also need a bowl of water. You'll need some pruners, which we have right here. And then you'll need a little watering can filled with water. You can use a pitcher as well.
This makes you want to water.
Yes, absolutely. So this actually, my husband brought back from Switzerland for me.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah. So it's they water with copper traditionally because it has a fungicide property in it. So when you water with copper, it actually puts in some anti-fungus properties.
Oh,
so you don't get
looks like
lots of little mushrooms in your pots.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so where do you put your frog in here? Does it go in the center?
So you never want to do the center. So this is a celebration of minimalism and asymmetry.
Okay.
So if you put it in the middle,
that's symmetric.
That's going to be symmetrical, which just won't work for what we're going to do. So if you want to think about this as a clock, okay? So this is 6 o'clock. This is 7. We want to place it at somewhere around 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay, so it's always easy to remember when you're working with this style to have it that way.
Okay.
The other thing that you want to do is have your frog. You want to think of your frog as a triangle. So here's a point, and here's a point.
Okay.
Right? So we're going to put it at 8 o'clock, and then you want to have 3 main pieces of branch material / florals. So we're going to do 3 pieces today. We're going to highlight the peony. So those are going to be our main 3. Okay. Your other pieces are going to be 2 of the branches. Okay. Okay? So
do you always do odd numbers?
You always do odd numbers. So it's a principle in design in general. You do 1s, 3s, 5s, 9s if you're feeling really, into it. So because these are dead branches, we don't need to cut them in water, but that's why the bowl of water is here.
Okay.
Because our flowers will be cut submerged.
Got it.
Okay?
Okay.
So for this, I think it'll be really fun to have this kind of at an angle like this. So for your first piece, you're going to come in and you want to stick it at the point of your frog. Does that make sense?
The triangle.
The point of the triangle,
Okay.
right? And then you want to bring it out a little bit to the side and see how that just stays like that. Isn't that amazing?
That's amazing.
So something I always look at when I'm picking my natural materials is just the shape, right? You can't recreate this shape.
Right.
It's just something beautiful in nature that can just be found. And I really hunt for materials in general. I think that makes the most
And I think
beautiful
you got
pieces.
this in your yard.
I got this in my yard.
All right.
Absolutely. Actually, the deer helped me because they went after it a little bit and this piece had fallen.
I love it.
So it was perfect. It was meant to be.
You're going to use that
So
one?
the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use, I kind of like this one.
Yeah.
I like the shape of this one because it kind of matches, but it's a little different. So we're going to come in. We're going to come up to the next point in the triangle.
Okay, so you've done the point. Now you're going to do the left point, right?
Yep. And then we're going to stick it in like that.
Okay. Love it.
Voila.
Love it.
All right. So then we're going to add some peonies.
Now, can you use any kind of flower?
You can use any kind of flower.
Okay.
There are traditional flowers that are used in this art form.
And what are they?
Irises, chrysanthemums. Peonies are another one that are used.
Okay.
You try to be seasonal about it, right? So with winter, for example, that's when you'd bring out the pine.
Okay.
You know,
So you can do this all seasons.
you can do this all season.
Okay.
And it's a really beautiful art form that kind of makes a beautiful centerpiece in your home for any time of year.
The center of the table.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to start off. I like to use 3 different sizes of flowers. Okay. So I have one in full bloom, one that is opening.
So when you're saying different sizes, you don't mean actual large in it. You do. It's not.
So it's going to be a little bit of both.
Okay.
Right? So we're going to have one that's larger, one that's medium, and then one that's smaller. You can use any ones that are open or ones that are budded.
Got it.
Isn't that lovely?
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Which ones do you want to use?
We can use this one, and this one.
Okay.
So
This is beautiful.
what you want to do,
These are my favorite flowers.
Aren't they
If they had a
gorgeous?
life expectancy beyond like 2 weeks, you know what I mean. They don't last
Absolutely.
very long.
well,
Well, you're gonna.
what
give
we're
us
going to
some
do
tips on that.
next is talk about how to make your peonies last. So let's say you wanted to do this in August. You wanted to do this in September.
You can.
You can. Absolutely.
Okay.
You can make your peonies last longer than the 2 weeks, especially with the rain that
If
we've
that
had.
doesn't give you a reason to hang on to the end of this video, I don't know. Okay, go ahead.
So next thing we're going to do is give them a fresh cut. So we're going to go down in the water, and I always cut in an angle.
Because that lets more water into
Lets
the
more
stem.
water into the stem and just adds a little bit for longevity.
Okay.
So I'm actually going to cut that a little lower. So then you kind of want to think about the piece you've got going on again. We're going to take this and have it coming out at an angle.
Okay.
I kind of want it to be like facing this way a little bit. So then you just pop it into the pin. There we go.
It's amazing that
And it's done. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So then this one I think would be fun kind of at a different angle. Once again, you're working with this triangle look.
Okay.
I'm just going to give this one a little bit of a fresh cut. And I don't want to cut too much off of this stem because I want it to sit a little higher. And then we're going to find a little pin and stick it on. There we go.
Beautiful.
So for this guy, I kind of want him to be a little bit at an angle. So we're going to
Turn it.
turn this just to see how we're working.
Beautiful.
Isn't that lovely? So this one has a lot of negative space back here, so it would be fun to have that back that way. So once we check what we're doing, we can turn it back around. We're going to give this one a little cut. And then once again, we're going to slide it right on to one of these pins.
I love
And then
it.
you have a multi-dimensional piece. Now,
Can you tell I'm already ready to water?
I know.
Go ahead.
I don't want to see that.
No. Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah.
So what you do.
I was going to ask you that, and then I thought maybe the water covers it.
So, it's not the prettiest looking thing, right? Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut some of the leaves from the peony, and we're going to go in and you're going to fill it in. So you go down here and you just gently fill in the frog at an angle.
And you stick them onto the...
And you stick them on or in between, because it's a leaf. You can kind of get away with sticking it in between as well, because it's not standing straight up.
Got it.
We're using it as a tool to cover the frog. Okay.
Now, do you ever do different flowers, or is it ordinarily all the same?
No, absolutely. Okay. So you could do different flowers. There are lots of different styles that you can do. There's a beautiful upright version that you can do that really looks best with irises.
Okay. I love the blue and the pink.
But I love the celebration of the peony. It's one of my favorite flowers as well. It's edible too if you want to eat it.
She's been teaching me about all the flowers that are edible. So that's been my...
Absolutely. So we're just going to come here, and once again, we are working in threes. And we're just going to try to cover up as much of this frog from the vantage point as possible. So let's do a check, and we'll see what we think.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Oh, so it's totally pretty much covered.
Pretty much covered.
I'm just going to take this guy, pop him out, and actually have him weep over this piece a little bit.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh, wow. Beautiful.
Right? So then we're going to turn it back. And then the part Ruth has been dying for, we're going to water.
Now, how much water do you put in here?
So we're going to need a little more water than what's in the can.
Okay.
So we're going to fill it up.
Water?
You sure can. Let's not waste it.
Awesome.
So you want to...
Beautiful. This is like the
lovely?
Perfect centerpiece for any kind of coffee table, dining room table, buffet table. It's actually a beautiful gift too.
And there you go. So that's all the water you really need. The reason being is you have all your stems covered, right? So you basically want to, we can fill it up just a teeny bit more to the top of the needles, and then we're good.
And do you usually face it a certain way?
So I do, typically, because it's an asymmetrical piece, but it is actually beautiful from all the way around. So if somebody's on this side, they're still going to get a lovely view. Yeah.
I love it. So Leslie was telling me how you can save your peonies. Okay, tell us, because this is exciting. This could be a Tip Tuesday, actually, but go ahead.
So for this, the most important thing you want to do is you want to make sure when you're cutting them that you're cutting them at the right phase.
Okay.
So this one is going to be slightly too open.
Too open.
It'll work, but it won't last for months.
Okay.
So you want to make sure you have green on it and that they're pretty tight. So this phase is called cracking color.
Okay.
So it's something that is used in like the floral industry and the nursery industry when you have just the teeniest bit of petals coming out, but it's still pretty much closed. So for example, these guys are going to be perfect.
They're going to be great. This guy might be a little past.
It might be a little past, but we're going to do it.
Okay.
So it just won't last as long. So what we'll do is we'll organize them by how long they'll last. That way you can pull them out of your fridge as you want to.
Is he okay? Or
He's a little too early.
Yeah.
But he will work, and we'll talk about that next. So this guy, we'll put him in that section and that section. So this is really what you're looking for.
Okay. Can you believe these turn into those giant? I mean, I have some peonies that are this big.
So a lot of people will do this trick because of ants. Have you ever noticed that peonies are covered in ants?
Yes.
So that's part of the natural process.
Okay.
Did you know that?
I didn't know
So ants actually are what is needed to open peonies.
I did not know
so
that.
they have this little bit of sap that comes out on the top that the ants go and they love. Okay. And that's the signal for the ants to come. They come and they work the peony and they work the peony, and then that's what starts it to unfurl. So what you're doing, if you don't want to bring ants into your home, when you do peonies, is you cut them when they're like this, right when they're about to start secreting sap.
Okay.
And then you bring them in, you put them in the fridge.
Perfect.
And then you take
that's
them
what
out.
You're going to show us. Okay.
Absolutely.
So when they're at this stage,
when they're at this stage, I'm just going to give them a little bit of a fresh cut.
Do you cut off all of the leaves? Because I see these are plain stems.
These are plain stems. You do cut off the leaves.
Okay.
they can just get a little icky
Okay.
in the fridge. And that's not what you want. You don't want any bacteria to be able to build up.
Okay.
So I'm just going to cut these evenly. Just dip
wet.
them a little in water. And then I'm just going to peel these off.
That's just the bottom leaves underneath.
It's just the
them.
bottom leaves.
Okay.
But like I said, you don't want anything that can hold bacteria and get
Okay.
icky in your fridge. So when they're like this, the next thing you do is you take a little paper. So traditionally, you would use newspaper.
Okay.
But nobody has that really anymore.
You can just run to 7-Eleven and grab a newspaper.
You absolutely can.
Okay.
And
But you can use
it's
tissue
sometimes
paper,
fun,
you
but
said.
you can use tissue paper.
Okay.
So I have a little bit of a harder grade tissue paper here. I'm just going to wet it just the teeniest bit so it just has a little moisture in it. If you have a spray bottle, you can use a spray bottle, but it's not necessary. So just the teeniest touch. And then all you're going to do is line them up. I kind of go like this with mine, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you alternate stems. There you go. And that's what you do. So then I'm going to give this guy one more little cut. Now, you might want longer stems for your future, depending on what you arrange it.
Right.
But then you're just going to fold it over and then roll it.
Wow. And that's all the water you put in there.
That's it. And then you stick it in your fridge.
Do you put it in a plastic bag?
Nope.
No.
You don't have to.
Literally put this in the fridge. And
You
then
literally
how
put it in
long
the
will
fridge.
they stay?
So that'll stay for a few months.
When you say a few months, 2, 3?
So typically, I'd say around 3.
3. You can pull this out in 3 months.
Yeah.
Then do you put it in water and then it will bloom?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
So
you're force
it's-
blooming it basically.
You're force blooming it, and it speeds up the process.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've ever gone to Trader Joe's and bought peonies when they're not in season,
Yeah.
and they open up like that day.
Yes.
That's because they're coming to you from this situation.
They've been
A lot
like
of times
this.
they've been like this,
Okay.
and that's why they open so quickly.
Got it.
So when I say put them in stages, because these were a little more tight, you've got these, they'll last a little longer. These.
And how long will they last once they're
These,
forced?
I would say,
Well, those.
these will last a few days.
Okay.
Yeah. They're not going to last anywhere near as long as a fresh peony.
Right.
Nothing's going to beat a fresh
Yes.
peony.
Yeah.
But these will, I would say, will last around a month in your
these
fridge.
will last a month in the fridge because they're a little bit more beyond.
open.
Got
Yep.
it. Okay.
So you just don't want them to linger too much.
Okay.
But this way, if you have a July wedding and
That's
you want
incredible.
peonies, you can have them, and you don't have to go and buy them at the flower market.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So we'll get these all wrapped up for you, and then we can take them out, you and I,
Yeah.
in
a
a little
couple
bit
of
of
months.
time, and do show you how they work.
Okay. Add a little water.
Perfect.
Okay. That's incredible that they don't need water.
Yeah. You know, you don't want to do too much because
It'll mold.
it'll mold.
Okay.
Yep. And then I'm gonna fold this down on the heads here. Fold this up. Here you go.
Okay. So I hope you have loved this episode with, what is it called?
Ikebana.
Ikebana, and with how to keep your peonies. Can't wait to see you next time you join us. Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you.